How are you today? I hope you're doing well. Welcome to Cast On with me. This is one of my series where I talk to you about a new cast on. And I spend a little time sitting and knitting with you usually and just chatting about, usually in the past few times, it's been books that I'm reading. This is a little bit unusual one. Did I say I'm Shannon? Also, my where to find me on socials is I popped on screen, and I also they'll be down in the description box as well. And you can find information about all the things that I talk about in this video down in the description box. The unusual thing about this Cast On With Me is that I recorded the footage that you're about to see about 6 weeks ago. It must have been just ahead of 4th of July weekend. It was probably the last weekend in June. And I ended up putting the sweater aside because it was Tour de Fleece, like putting the cast on aside. I made it, you're going to see, I made it through the neckband, about that much. I mean, I didn't even finish the neckband. I only knit maybe 3/4 of an inch of the neckband. And then I put it down and did Tour de Fleece and did not pick it up again until today. So, just getting back to it, and I never released the video because I don't know, I just didn't make time to edit. A few things happened. My cat got a UTI. He was really sick. It was really a pain in the ass. My little Foldy, my little orange cat Egg, he got really sick and it was very stressful. He vomited and yeah, it was terrible, and just like couldn't make it to the litter box to pee, and I ended up throwing a rug out. It was that kind of bad. So I had that going on, and then just I had company. People visiting and whatever. Anyway, excuses. I never got around to editing the footage until today. And I'm actually going to be releasing it, although I'm recording this bit right now, today. I'm going to be releasing it in a few days because I just released A Knitter's Life, and I want to just give a little break in between video releases. And it's going to be, I won't be able to release another Knitter's Life until Labor Day weekend, which is about 3 weeks from now. So this will be a nice filler in my video feed, and it's much needed because I want to work on this sweater now. So I want to be able to talk to you about it in my next Knitter's Life, and it became important to release the Cast On With Me footage. So without chatting more about it, I'm going to let you go ahead and watch. I have heavily edited the footage. It is mostly just about the sweater. There's not anything else in there. I took out everything else because everything else is no longer relevant. I chatted a bit about some books that I am reading, that I've since talked about in my last episode of Cast On With Me. So if you're interested, you can watch that episode, the Get Out of the Pool Tea Cast On. And I also talked about Tour de Fleece, and both of those are behind me, and I've already covered them in other videos. So yeah, enjoy the little bit of Cast On With Me, and I will share my progress after you're done. When you finish that, I'll come back and wrap it up for you. All right. So let me dive into what I'm going to work on. I fell in love with this pattern. I'm going to just look at my phone to read some pattern information to you as I talk about this piece. I'm going to be casting on this Seine sweater by oh my goodness, by Early Bird Knits. The woman behind Early Bird Knits, I think, is Marie Regnier. She's a French designer, And the Seine sweater is inspired by, I've put a picture on screen now, by the Breton sweater. And she, just grab my glasses, I just want to read to you her inspiration because I think it's really interesting to know about these things. She says, the legendary river flowing through Paris's heart inspires the Seine sweater. Its flowing cables along the yoke mirror the Seine's graceful mix of straight lines and soft curves. The classic stripes and nod to the iconic French mariner, a traditional striped sailor shirt that has become a timeless symbol of French style. A modern twist on a wardrobe classic, Seine plays with texture, featuring wide, gently draped sleeves that add a hint of bohemian charm to this elegant wearable piece. I have at different times in my life had a Breton sweater, or inspired by a Breton sweater, probably not necessarily an authentic one, but I've always really loved that classic upper white yoke with the navy stripes. Really cute. And exactly what she said about this sweater, it being a sort of a modern twist on that sweater with the cable motif in the yoke, just chef's kiss. Just loved it. And immediately purchased the pattern. The pattern came out just a few weeks ago. I want to say I bought it as soon as it was released. When I took a look at the projects, there were only 12 of them. I don't know. So yeah, the pattern was released May 2025. It was designed using Holtz Garn Super Soft, a light fingering, and it just looked like a terrific sweater for the cooler summer nights that we can sometimes have, or also that transitional season. And I just immediately pictured, I wanted something other than navy. I knew I wanted natural, and I was circling around this new yarn that I bought, Fleece and Flax, new to me yarn, I should say, from Sonder Yarn Company, called Fleece and Flax. It's a 75% BFL, 25% linen, which I thought would really add to its wearability in those warmer transitional months. I have purchased Fleece and Flax from Forever Yarn at Yarn Centric, which is a side event of Maryland Sheep and Wool, in May, at the beginning of May. So I kept thinking to myself, like, that yarn would be really great in this sweater. There was one problem. The yarn I bought at Maryland was a pond scum green, and in my head I was like, I really think I want natural, so let me just see what it would cost for me to just order it directly from Sonder. So I went on to Sonder's site and ended up purchasing this gorgeous natural linen color called Clean Slate. I think this might be undyed. I'm not sure. It's hard to know. But it looks to me like pretty close to a natural linen color, which I love. Like, I am just loving this color lately. I don't know why. I guess it's maybe the weather. I love to wear linen. I have linen sheets on my bed in the hot months, and I just love linen. Wearing linen. I'm actually wearing a linen t-shirt. I'm wearing linen shorts. They're just really nice, and it's such nice, cool, breezy fabric for the hot months. So then my second dilemma was, what color do I make those stripes? And I could certainly have chosen navy. They have a pretty nice color palette. I do think that the natural base of it, this is not it. Since it's called Clean Slate, I'm thinking this is it. But I do think the natural base is sort of a gray or beige color, because the color palette of the yarn by Sonder is all kind of these cooler, gray toned, cooler tones. They're more muted. They're not clear colors necessarily. And I settled on, get ready, this is not what I expected, but I settled on this lemony zest color called Wake Up. This like bright sunshine yellow. Oh, it actually doesn't, it's pretty close to the blanket behind me, which I just thought would be so cute. I really considered using the green that I had on hand, but I thought to myself, that's a sweater's quantity. That can be another project at some point. So when the yarn came a couple weeks ago, I swatched. So here's my swatch, so you can see how it'll look together. I really love this, the fabric that this yarn makes. It's so pretty. So I think this is just going to be great. Very excited about this. So this has just been sitting, waiting for me to get ready, to be ready to cast it on. And today's the day. So anyway, I did in fact go ahead and start the beginning of this sweater. So a couple things about this that I noticed right off the bat. The neckline is not like a round, it's kind of squared. And I don't know if that was intentional or not. When I looked at some of the other projects by their test knitters, I didn't think that theirs all looked as squared off as the one in the picture. So I'm not really sure, you know, whether that was intentional or it was just the way that particular sample came out. But I decided to just go ahead and go with it, not try to do any modifications, and just, you know, see what happens with mine. I went ahead and did the initial cast on because it was a new to me cast on. It's called, she calls it in the pattern alternate cast on. So I got excited because I thought maybe it was alternating long tail cast on, which is a cast on that I use frequently. But she has videos linked for all of the techniques that she uses. So she calls it alternating cast on. So I went to the video and watched it and saw that it's alternating cast on, but it's alternating cable cast on, where you start with one loop on the needle and then you knit into that loop, and instead of dropping that loop off the needle, you leave it on the needle and then put the one that you just knit on the needle as well. And then you start knitting between them, between each stitch. So you knit between those two stitches, bring that loop over onto the needle. Now you have 3 stitches, and then you purl between the stitches that are at the end of the needle. And so I was wondering, like, what would be the difference? Like, how would it look different from alternating cable to my usual alternating long tail cast on for a 1x1 rib? And I ran and got my book, which I've had this book for years. I've had this book. It's called Cast On Bind Off, 54 Step-by-Step Methods. And what it is a whole bunch of, and it's on a spiral thing, so you can easily show it or use it as a tutorial. But it's just a whole bunch of different styles of cast on and bind offs in an illustrated way. So I went to the page that had the alternating cable, and it also has alternating long tail, because I was curious about what type of finish I was going to get on the edge. So this is the cast on, the second one is the cast on that Marie recommended in the pattern, and this is the one that I normally use. So you can really see how the edges look. Really wants to focus on my blanket back there. There we go. And then these are some other, these are in the category of stretchy cast-ons. And this book also makes recommendations about where it's, what's a good place to use that particular cast-on or that particular bind-off. And then, as I was saying, there are like step-by-step illustrations of each particular cast-on. So the illustration here is the same as the video, so that's how I knew that it was alternating cable cast-on. So anyway, I went ahead and did that cast-on already. I did not get gauge too, I should say. It's I never get gauge though, so no surprise there. I wasn't taken aback or anything by that. So I ended up with the gauge for this pattern is 26 stitches for 4 inches. I got 23. I did some math to find out what size. So clearly I'm going to go down a size. The sizes in the pattern, there are 9 sizes in the pattern. They range from 33.5 inch all the way up to 64.25 inch. She recommends 2 to 5 inches of positive ease on the sweater. So by making the size 37 inch chest, I should end up with a 42 inch with my gauge. So I'm making the second size. And of course it's a raglan construction, so it the neck that you're casting on is similar across sizes. Like I think there's only 3 different neck sizes that you start with, just depending on which size you're knitting. So I had to cast on over 100 stitches for the neckband, and I went ahead and did that, and I started the first row. She also has you make this neckband in a different way than I usually do. She has you, I don't know what it's called, but she has you knit a stitch, slip a stitch, and then the next round you purl the stitch that you slipped and slip the knit stitch. So to do it's, people were calling it in the testers were calling it double knitting. So maybe it's double knitting, I'm not sure. It seems like it's going to take a while though. I am knitting on US size 4. I should have said that earlier. It's US size 4 or 3.5 millimeter needles. Yeah, I guess, is that all I can tell you about it? I think that's all I can tell you about it. Are you ready to do some knitting? I should have said earlier that to bring over some knitting and grab a drink if you want or something, and I'm gonna knit these first few rounds while I sit and chat with you a little bit. I thought I would talk about, here, I put the camera down a little. So when you're slipping the purl, you're holding the yarn in the front, just like when you would purl, and then knitting, and then when I slip the knit, I'll be holding the yarn in the back as if I'm knitting the stitch. Oh, and I had put in some of these light bulb stitch markers every 50 stitches just to help me do the count of the stitches, like to help me keep track of how many stitches I had cast on. So I have 2 of those. Just gonna take those out. Oh, I'm also going to put one of them on what is the front, just so I don't get confused, while the front and back look fairly similar. All right, so let me show you the 2 rounds I've got so far. Completed 2 full rounds. Cast on, then 2 rounds. It's looking pretty good. I don't think it's really enough to see the double knitting, but I'm gonna sit here and knit a little bit more. I'm gonna end the video and sit here and knit a little bit more, and then I may put a little bit of footage at the end in editing so that you can see. We'll take a look at what type of neckband this actually ends up making, this slipping. I've never done this before, so this is like a new to me technique, as was the alternating cable cast on. I've done cable cast on before, but only for stockinette fabric, so it does seem like it's pretty squishy and fatter though. And I do think that edge is going to look nice, right? So I've knit a few more rounds than when I ended the video, and it really is like a double knit. It feels thick, and you can see that edge is rounded and seems to be creating a nice thickness. It's an interesting way to make a neckband. As I said, I've never made a neckband like that. I do think the stretchiness is going to be a little bit less than what it would be if it was a normal 1x1, so that's something to keep in mind if you were to do this neckband or do a neckband in this way. I hope you enjoyed that cast on information. I wanted to say there were a few things that I didn't say in the footage that I just wanted to share with you now. The Breton sweater actually has a couple hundred years of history to it, or at least 150 years or so. The interesting thing about it was that eventually, I want to say in the 1860s or so. Hold on, I have the history. It was a functional, that striping was functional workwear for French sailors and fishermen, and I think it got more broadly adopted as the French Navy uniform in 1858. All right, so that's a good long while. I think the original sweaters, going back to the 17th and 18th and 19th century, they were probably based on a Guernsey, and that might be why I'm making this type of neckband that, hold on, I just want to see what you're seeing, that she has you make this double knit neckband. So this one is measuring about 1.5 inches. She recommends that you go 1 inch, or I think it might be, maybe it's 1.25 inches. She recommends that you knit 1 3/4 inches or 4 centimeters, and I just decided enough's enough. It's very slow knitting because you're basically knitting every row twice, and it's a lot of cast on stitches. So now I'm just doing the first few rounds of what will be the yoke, and I think after this round and the next round, I'll be putting in the stitch markers to delineate the raglan sleeves and stuff. So so the Breton sweater was then adopted by the French Navy in the 1850s, but it really didn't come into mainstream fashion until Coco Chanel put it in her line, or put an garment inspired by it into her line in the 1900s, in the early 1900s, like 1917, around the First World War, around that period, when she saw French sailors wearing it, and she just found it very inspiring. There have been many, many modern twists since Coco Chanel did her twist on it. And if you do a Google, you'll see most of the colors tend to be navy with cream stripes, white, cream with navy stripes, cream with red stripes, red with navy stripes. So it'll be all in those red, white, and blue colors that are the colors of the French, like the French national colors. And then there were some deviants, even more, like I'm looking at modern ones, cream with pink stripes, all different colors, and sometimes changing a stripe in the striping pattern and stuff like that. So it's super interesting to just look at that. Like when I was looking for inspiration for what colors I was going to use, I was checking out what other people had done, what commercial sweaters look like, just what were sweaters like, what type of colors did people use in these. I also found there was some that were like this natural color with like a sienna color, like kind of a burnt brown color, like a real red brown tone, that were really beautiful, and I considered that as an option instead of the gold. But I actually really love the gold. I've been in a yellow mood. I have this sweater that's got some yellow in it, and I'm planning to cast on a yellow sweater, another yellow sweater, in a couple weeks. So that's yet another cast on with me to look forward to, I suppose. But I actually have a number of colorwork sweaters in mind to make, and I'm thinking a lot about which one I should do next. But I'm leaning towards the yellow one just because, yeah, I can't wait to talk to you about it. It's very exciting to me. But speaking of French girl, I did I got a new lip color. It's called Glowiest. It's by hold on 1 minute. Dream Glow, I think, is the name of the company. Dream Glow. And it's the colorway Dusty Rose. There you go. But I did it's a gloss, but it's not a sticky gloss. It's a serum based gloss. So I put it on my lips, and then I dabbed a little on my cheeks to get the matchy like French girls do. So I thought that was fun. Kind of tied in with the Frenchy theme that this video is. But anyway, I hope you're doing well, and thank you so much for hanging out with me and going through this rather unusual episode of Cast On With Me. I hope you enjoyed. Take care.